The date is December 4th, 2029. Cristiano Ronaldo is 44 years old. It has been 3 years since he left active football. That night, he was the guest of honor at the most prestigious sports awards ceremony in Europe. The invitation was sealed in red. The background was gilded gold. Everyone was talking. I wonder if he's going to say goodbye. Is the biography coming? Maybe he's moving to technical director. But when he came on stage, he had such an expression on his face that no one has become able to think about those possibilities. He was wearing a black suit. He didn't have a tie. When he took over the microphone, the hall became silent. There were standing ovations, but he didn't thank the applause. His eyes remained locked on a point in the hall, and then he took a deep breath. Life has given me so much, but I came here today not to tell you about what I took, but about what I lost. There was a buzzing in the hall, because no one expected such an entrance. Ronaldo was a man of winners. Trophy, record, golden shoe, Ballon d'Or, Champions League. But now, it was the gaps, not the trophies, that would do the talking. He didn't move away from the microphone. There was no one in the hall with whom he met eye to eye. His eyes seemed to be watching another time. And at that moment, he began to quietly return to his story. The early 2000s. When he crossed from Sporting Lisbon to Manchester, he had only a backpack and his father's old jacket in his hand. No one knew him at the airport. No one was sitting next to him on the bus. During his first week in Manchester, he couldn't even get food from the canteen because he didn't speak English. And when he called his father in the evening that day, he had stolen busy. And the next day. And by the end of that month, the phone had gone silent forever. My father did not see my first goal, but for my whole career, I've put him in the back row of every grandstand. Even if I didn't see it, he was there, applauding. The silence in the hall became heavy. Ronaldo continued, "People count my trophies. I remember what I missed. On the night of the Ballon d'Or I won in 2008, my mother was crying, but no one asked why. Because I didn't have a father. Euro 2004 final. I cried because I thought I couldn't win. However, the only reason I cried was because I had promised my father before the match. Euro 2016, I got injured. I left the game. People said I was showing leadership, but I wasn't there. My eye was always on a seat in the empty grandstand. I've always been playing for him." Ronaldo's voice did not tremble, but his eyes, he was telling everything he couldn't tell. "Remember me not by the victories, but by the losses. Because what makes a person human is not what they have achieved, but what they have left behind." There was no applause in the hall at that moment. No one spoke, because some words don't want applause. He just wants to be understood. He never raised his eyes on the stage that night. He wasn't talking anymore. He was telling. And as he explained, everything he had suppressed for years was resonating in the silence in the hall. "I scored 4 goals in 1 match. Unstoppable Ronaldo," the headlines read. But I didn't see my children that night. The plane got away, and my son blew his birthday cake without me. 2018 Champions League final. I smiled when the final whistle went. But no one knew that I played my last match with Real Madrid that evening. I had won. But something inside me was over. People applauded his championships, but did not notice his goodbyes. Behind every goal I scored on the pitch, there was a tear shed in the dressing room. But the camera would not enter the room. Ronaldo grabbed the microphone with his hands. He turned his eyes to a distant corner of the hall. There was no one there, but he was obviously seeing someone. One day, my son asked me, "Dad, why don't you laugh sometimes when you score goals?" I couldn't answer, because sometimes a goal is not the moment when you win something, but when you completely lose something. A few people who had stood strong until that moment wiped away tears, but Ronaldo was still upright, because this was one of his biggest matches, and this time the opponent was himself. I carried the weight of my country in every match I played for Portugal, but at the same time, I also fought with myself. Because I've never just been a football player. I was a kid who didn't have shoes when I was little. Every time I tried to satisfy that absent child. But sometimes the greatest hunger is invisible from the outside. He played at the 2014 World Cup with an injury. No one knew about this. He fell silent when the reserve was left in 2022. But as he fell silent, the child inside him was screaming, "I still want to play!" And then Ronaldo sighed deeply. They ask me why I quit football. The answer is simple, because as much as I love playing on the court, I've finally forgotten what I'm playing for. After each cup, an emptiness grew inside me, because every award was like an unwritten letter to my father. The heavy air in the hall was spreading like a prayer. Ronaldo was still remembered with trophies, but now he was weighing his own life on a different scale. What I have earned has made me known, but what I lost made me who I am. When Ronaldo finished his speech, there was no click in the hall. Not a clap, not a whisper. Everyone was quieter, smaller than they were, because for the first time, here was a man talking not with trophies, but with his wounds. He didn't let go of the microphone right away. He squeezed it with the inside of his palms. It was as if he was trying to restrain what was going on inside, but he couldn't quite manage it. Then suddenly he looked up. His eyes hung on the ceiling for a while. It was as if he was talking to someone, but without putting it into words. He slowly replaced the microphone. He walked to the front of the stage. There was an award plaque there that was left before the ceremony. His own name was engraved on it in gold letters. He bowed. He didn't get the plaque. He just stood and stared for a moment. Then he moved his lips. I tried to write my name not here, but in the hearts of people. Then he headed for the back door of the hall. There was no one he saw eye to eye with as he passed through the crowd. Maybe he wanted it to be like this, because for years he had played looking into the eyes of millions. But that night, he had only returned to the eyes of the little boy inside him. When he came to the door, he stopped for a moment. He turned and looked into the hall again. He didn't say anything, but his eyes said a lot. Everything I have won has been applauded, but I grew up clinging to silence the most. Those old days came to mind. His childhood spent in poverty with his mother on the Portuguese island of Madeira. The first years he spent alone in Manchester. Tears that are never shown in Madrid. Silent goodbyes in Turin. And in Saudi Arabia, these are the days that no one sees, but he is struggling the most. I've always been the loudest, Susan, she said from within. As he was leaving the door, the ceremony manager turned to him and whispered, "Won't you take the plaque?" Ronaldo smiled. Number. That plaque tells the story of today. But I have made peace with my past now. And the door closed slowly. The lights have come down, and Cristiano Ronaldo, perhaps for the first time in his life, walked without fear of loneliness, towards the quiet finale not only of football, but also of life.